The big question is, what is communism? This question has been asked many times, and there have been many interpretations of this whole idea and concept of communism. In this video, we're going to be looking at communism from the political and economic standpoints and trying to understand what it really is. Now, communism is a political economic ideology. Now, this is a very key point because it is an ideology. People follow this ideology. Countries follow this ideology. This ideology is in practice in many countries, especially during the Cold War. Some of those countries have disintegrated, and some of them have turned to democracy or democratic system of government or capitalism system of economics. But nevertheless, it's a system that is very much in place and entrenched. And a few countries today are practicing communism. For example, North Korea. China is also a communist country in terms of its political theory and political practice. It's a communist country. Now, again, the question is, what is communism? It's a political communism. It's a political and economic ideology, right? So, and what's ideology? Ideology is a belief system. Ideology is something people believe and believe that is attainable, and they put it out there and try to practice it. So a political and economic ideology that is adverse to the idea, adverse means oppose. So let's put that here. Opposed to the idea and concept of liberal democracy, right? Liberal democracy. And liberal democracy here is practicing democracy, democratic governance, and allowing people to make choices and allowing people to choose their leaders, allowing people to hold their leaders accountable, right? So liberal democracy and capitalism, right? So capitalism then is, right, free market, right? Free market, competition amongst businesses. By businesses competing, the economy is better. Customer service is better and the products are cheaper, right? So capitalism, allowing people to interact in the market without really the interference of governance and big forces like governmental forces, etc. But communism is opposed to that. Let's take a look at this again. Communism is a political and economic ideology that is adverse, opposed to the idea and concept of liberal democracy, right? So democratic rule, that is choice, right? That is the ability to engage in entrepreneurism, for example, right? The ability to trade, right? To invest, right? The ability, again, to choose your leaders, ability to hold your leaders accountable, ability to run for office, and all of those things. It's opposed to that. Why is it opposed to that? Because it believes in the centrality of government. The centrality of governance is at the heart of communism. What does that mean? It means that everything comes from the center. Everything comes from the leaders, from the government. The government determines everything, and everything is owned by the government, right, in communist dispensation. So it proposes then, communism proposes a society that is classless. A society that is classless, right? Devoid of hierarchy. So there is no hierarchy. This is a ladder. And communism says, well, no need for people to be here. No need for people to be here. No need for people to be here. Certainly no need for people to be here. No need for people to be here. No need for people to be here. Everybody should be on one level. So these guys come down here, these guys go up here, everybody's on one level, essentially classless society, where there is no rich or poor and everybody has access to the same resources. That's communism, right? And this is a very important point. This is part of the ideology of communism, right? It proposes a society that is classless and devoid of hierarchy, a society where the means of production, right? And these are the means of production right here. And the means of production right here, right? And the means of production right here, for example, the factories and industries are owned communally, right? What does that mean? Owned by these people. And these people are who? Citizens. Owned by the citizens. These people are citizens, right? And this is a very important point here. So the means of production, the factories, are owned by these people. And then he goes on to say, an ownership of private properties such as houses and land, right? So houses and land, right? This is a house here. This is a land here. It's non-existent or severely limited, right? So they don't want citizens to be overly rich to the expense of the others, expense of their neighbors. You have 5, 6 houses and others don't have any. That's not a situation that is encouraged by communism. Communism says, well, if you own a house, let somebody else own the next house and the next house and so forth. You can own them all. You can't have too much land, right? Land belongs to the government, and the government controls all of the apparatus of governance. And they control the citizens. They provide for the citizens. They provide electricity. They provide water. They provide security and infrastructure and protection and health and education. Everything is provided by the government without competition, right? So no infusion of private enterprise and ideas. The government controls everything. So if that is the case, there is no competition. That is communism. And this system is a very interesting one because if you take a look at the system where new ideas are not coming in, well, the chances are it may not be sustainable. It may not be sustainable, right? Because there's no competition. And so prices are stagnant, or prices can go high because nobody is competing, right? So for example, the telephone company can charge a certain amount every month, and there is no other company to compete with it, to make it look at its services, to make it reconsider its bills. No competition. And when that happens, it's hardly sustainable. The economy is hardly sustainable because there's no new ideas coming in, and no one is really, no checks and balances in the system, in the market. It's just a monopoly. So communism is monopoly, right? Where the government monopolizes every aspect of society: health, education, welfare, security, infrastructure, amenities. Everything is controlled by the government. That's communism, right? So communism, let's take a look at this one more time. So communism then is a political and economic ideology that is adverse to the idea and concept of liberal democracy and capitalism, right? They don't like that. They don't go hand in hand. They oppose liberal democracy. We already explained what that is. And capitalism, free market system, allowing competition, entrepreneurism, ideas, creativity, and ingenuity. It proposes a society that is classless, no ladder system, Everybody is on the same level, devoid of hierarchy. A society where the means of production right here, factories, industries, are owned, right, not by the elite, as often done, not by the elite, no, as often done in the West, but by the people. These are the people that own the factories and industries. And ownership of private property, right, is severely limited. That's communism. And we have many examples during the Cold War. Most of them are folded because they cannot compete. The economy cannot compete with Western economies. It's not sustainable. Again, no new ideas, no creativity. And where there are no new ideas or creativity, a system cannot grow. A system dies. And that's why societies that have communism as a system of government most likely are not progressing economically. And that there are often challenges within the system. This is communism as a political and economic ideology.